Hi everyone, today we're going to do a little tutorial on how to search the Library of Congress authorities specifically for the subject heading authorities. This is available to us at authorities.loc.gov, and you'll see on this first page here where we've got our search authorities button. There's also help on searching the authorities and frequently asked questions. Both of these are very, very useful, especially as you get more in depth with these authority searches. But hopefully what we'll cover today will give you all of the basics you need to know to be able to search at least the subject headings like a pro. So if we click on Search Authorities, we are taken to this screen here that also has its own help button that will give us a little bit more information about each of these different search types if we need it. So today we're worried about the subject authority headings, so we want to make sure we have that clicked, and then we can go ahead and begin our search. Today we're going to use clothing and dress because it's a nice broad term that will give us lots to work with. We've got our subject authority headings search type selected, so let's see what we get. So here you'll see that the search results display with 4 different columns. You've got this column here that sometimes has these wonderful little red buttons in them. When you see these red buttons, it means you can click on them and get extra information. So our first result here for clothing and dress has authorized, references, and notes. That means that we have found an authorized subject heading with lots of good information. If you look at these next few, you'll see that there is no red button here. That means that these are not authorized subject headings. They're variations that may still be used, but they're not the official terminology. Then down here, you'll see we have a result that says clothing and dress advertising with just references in the red button. What that means is that we've not found the exact authorized heading format, but there is one that is very closely related. So let's take a peek at this. If we click on references, we'll see here that there is an authority record for advertising, clothing, and dress. So simply by flipping the 2 parts of this phrase, we've gone from a non-authorized record to an authorized one, just like that. So that references button can be really helpful if you're just not sure, if you're not finding what you're looking for with the phrasing that you're using. So let's go back to our original search results. And again, here in our first result, we have that key term authorized. And we have a whopping 1,268 bib records, so we've found a nice broad topic that should have lots of good information. To dig a little further into this, let's go ahead and click on Authorized References and Notes. So here you'll see that we have the authority record for clothing and dress, as it states up at the top of the page. We have a scope note. We have a bunch of narrower terms because we found a very, very broad topic. And then all the way down at the bottom, you have these 2 last listings that say see also. If they say see also like this, that means those are also authorized subject headings. So that's good to know. We'll come back to that in just a bit. If we go back up to the top and click on the scope note, for such a broad topic, the scope note is going to be really, really helpful. It's going to tell us a little bit more information about how exactly this subject heading is applied. So when we look at the scope note for clothing and dress, we see that it says that this is based on utilitarian aspects of clothing, including works on how to dress, and anything related to clothing as art or for screen or stage is entered under costume. That means that if we're looking here for information on clothing as costume, we are in the wrong place, and we know that we need to start our search from the costume perspective. We're not going to find those artistic usages of clothing under this search term. So that's really helpful if you've got a giant topic like this. It gives us just a little bit better understanding of how exactly it's applied. Let's go back to our search. Then let's take a peek at this authority record. It's going to take us to another screen that is very similar to the one we were just on, but we'll go ahead and just click on this clothing and dress because that's what we're here for. On this page, you'll see that it defaults to the mark display, The mark display is definitely the most detailed and is going to provide us the most information, but I think it's nice to look at the label display too and kind of see what that has to offer, because it's a little bit easier to look at if you're still familiarizing yourself with the mark labeling. So here you'll see that you've got your topical subject heading, you've got variants, you've got see also, you've got the scope note, and example tracing, which gives us the note under costume, which relates back to that scope note that we were just talking about. The important thing to look at here is to notice that all of these variants are listed exactly the same way, as are these see also. So there's 4 see alsos here that are just listed as if they are all the same as one another. When we look at the mark record, we're going to see that that's not entirely true. So let's go back to our mark display. When we look at the mark display, we can scroll down here to the 150 tag, clothing and dress. That shows us that we do in fact have an authorized subject heading, which is how we wound up here in the first place. Then if you see these 450 tags, these 450 tags are the same headings as we had under variants on the labeled record. However, there's one difference, and that is this record here for clothing and dress primitive. So clothing and dress primitive has NNE in front of it, and what that means is that this is a heading that was at one time an authorized subject heading but is no longer in use. So much like language evolves and our usage of certain terminology comes and goes, these subject headings are not set in stone forever. Clothing and dress, primitive was at one time an authorized subject heading that has fallen out of favor and is no longer used as the authorized LCSH. So that's kind of nice to know, just to get a background on things, to be able to see how the language has evolved and potentially help you do a search if you're looking for information that was written a long time ago. You may have better luck doing some of the searches with these other terminologies. Then if you look down here at the 550 tags, you'll see that the top 2, beauty personal and manners and customs, have this little G in front of them. What that means is that those are broader topics than the one we've searched. So all of these LCSH headings are set up in a hierarchy. So you've got very, very broad topics at the top that kind of narrow down as you dig down through the layers. They get more and more specific with every kind of tier that you step down. So that G tells us that the broader search terms that clothing and dress is nested under are beauty personal and manners and customs. That's nice to know. If you're finding information that's overly specific, you can go ahead and take a look at these mark tags and look for the G and find a broader search heading that might give you the results you're looking for. Similarly, you've got these fashion and undressing 550 tags. These ones don't have that G, and what that means is that those are also authorized subject headings that exist on the same level of the hierarchy as the term we've searched for. So clothing and dress, if that's on tier 2, let's say, fashion and undressing also exist on tier 2. That's nice to know. It can give us some other places to go if we're not finding the information we need. You've also got the 670 tag that gives us a background on how they came up with this term as the authorized subject heading. The 680 tag contains the scope note that we talked about before. So lots of good information and good details here in this mark display. If we go back to our original search results, I think it's nice to take a quick peek at one of these narrower terms and see how that hierarchy looks when we go one step further into things. So let's look at children's clothing. When we look at children's clothing here, if we scroll down to the 550 tag, you'll see that there are 2 of these G550 tags. That means that we have 2 different areas that are the tier above the thing we've searched for, and we'll see that one of them is clothing and dress, which is how we found our way here, and the other one is children's paraphernalia. So again, these are all just giving you different access points to broader or narrower search terms if you're not having luck finding what you're looking for, if you need more or less specificity. So that is the basics of the Library of Congress subject heading authorities database. I hope this has given you all of the information you need to go ahead and search these records like a pro. Hope you have a great day.